Okay, so it's been a long time since I've done a video, and I know I'm sorry. Some people have been asking for a few. Hopefully, we'll get to those in a little bit. But first, I actually had an experiment I wanted to try today. Um, I like to compare things and kind of see which is best and which is not. And, so I have kids, and they like to destroy Blu-ray discs. They do. They just love to destroy them. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is digitizing my Blu-rays. Now, I know some people will just say that, you just buy it online, have your digital copies, Google Play, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I get it. I get it. It makes sense. But let me just say this. I'm an old man, I guess. I like to hold things in my hand. I like to have my Blu-rays. I like to have my library, unless my children are involved. And then my kids seem to be able to destroy just about everything. We've been through multiple copies of Super Mario Brothers on the Wii when that was a thing, PlayStation discs, all that sort of stuff. Now, there's not much I can do about that. But when it comes to How to Train Your Dragon or Captain America or any other number of Blu-ray discs that my children will watch over and over and over again and get peanut butter or whatever else. Now, I shouldn't say, I've got two older children, so they're not so bad. It's the youngest one who's the really, really bad right now. I've got three boys. But it can get, it can get a little messy. So I've started a media server, and I always use Handbrake. I use MKV to rip out to an MKV file. I'll make MKV to rip out to an MKV file. And then I will usually use Handbrake to take the MKV file and put it into an H.264. However, that's not always maybe that's not necessarily the best thing to do. I don't know. We'll just have to see. So we're going to do an experiment today. Now, I have the Adobe Creative Cloud. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to directly compare Handbrake versus Adobe Media Encoder. And the reason why I want to do that is because I was actually taking a look at my hardware monitor, which is behind me here. Let's go back here. So I was kind of taking a look at my hardware monitor while I was ripping some videos with MKV and then Handbrake. And I was like, is it really using the GPU? And then I did some research, and yeah, Handbrake does use the GPU, but it didn't seem like it was really doing it very efficiently. In fact, when I took my CPUs and I only have one CPU. When I took my CPU and I took the overclock off, and then all of a sudden things got markedly worse. I wasn't really expected for how slow Handbrake got when I took the CPU off my turbo, or not my turbo, but my overclock settings. So we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. What I'm going to do, I'm going to rip just one of the extra features. I'm not going to do the whole movie. I'm going to rip one of the extra features off of my Marvel Blu-ray here, and then I'm going to set up the settings, and we're gonna re-encode it from an MKV to an MP4. We're going to do it once with Handbrake, and then we're going to do it again with Adobe Media Encoder. And let's see exactly which one ends up faster. I'm very curious. If I had to bet on it, I'd probably bet Adobe Media Encoder, but you know what? I'm prepared to be wrong. Handbrake has been around for a long time, and it does an excellent job. I've never had any problems with it. So let's see what's going to happen. So I'm going to launch Make MKV here. Oh, came up on my other monitor, sorry. So Make MKV is here. It's going to load the Blu-ray, and there we go. I love Make MKV, by the way. This is a great application. All right. So now we've got a whole host of different things. What we're going to do is, let's see, this 2 gig one right here. So let's unselect them all, and then we're just going to select this 2 gig one, and let's just put it right in no, we're going to just put it right in the videos folder here, and let's just do this. We'll call this Captain America test. All right, I'm going to put it in there. And let's go. Shouldn't take too long here. Okay, so Make MKV has finished, and didn't take too long, but of course it is a relatively small file. Let's go check that and bring that in. So there it is. 2.1 gigs, approximately 10 minutes in duration. I'm not going to show, we'll just show it really quickly here. I'm just going to yep, so we've got a little behind the scenes featurette. Turn that off. So now I've got that, and it's 2.1 gigs. So we're going to take this and let's get rid of Make MKV. Great application, as I've said before. Just want to go Handbrake here. I've always loved Handbrake's little icon, of course. Everybody talks about it. It's hilarious. So now I'm going to drag that in. There we go. And I'll start setting my filters. So let's do some pretty heavy compression. You know, depending upon what I'm doing, it also depends on who it's for. If it's for myself, I have to admit, I'll rip it out at a slightly higher bit rate than maybe before. But let's just do something really simple. I just want to make everything very comparable. So let's set it at say 12,000 kilobits per second, 2-pass. We're not going to do a turbo. Well, let's just do it fastest possible for this bit rate. Set it to a encoder level of 4.1, and we're going to go here to our audio, and we're going to take AC3, and let's just set it to an AC3, and we'll set it to 512, and our mix down will be what is it here? It's 5.1. So 5.1 channels. There we go. So we should be able to set this up relatively almost exactly the same in Adobe Media Encoder. So yeah, so that looks pretty good. Let's take our deinterlace off. Sorry, I hit the wrong one there. So deinterlace is off. And oh, let's say so, and its path is and we're gonna put this down here. We'll call this Handbrake. So there we go. So this is Winter Soldier track 00, and this is our Handbrake. And then I'll always leave myself some notations here. So say 12 megabits per second, and then AC3 5.1 channel, and 512 right? It was 512, right? Yeah, 512. Okay, so that should be pretty good there. So yeah, so let's do it. So let's start the encode. Let's see what happens. So there we go. It's pass 1 of 3. That's pretty good. And we're moving. So it's telling us 221. You know what I didn't do? Hold on, I need to start. I'm gonna do a stopwatch, because you can't ever really trust their you can't always trust their estimations, right? You just, yeah. So I'm gonna start a stopwatch here. If I can actually get to the right app on my phone. So I'm gonna start a stopwatch here on my phone, and that's not that. There's my stopwatch. Ha 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 ha. It's really hard to hold this up to the camera when I'm trying to look at the screen. Sorry, it's just one of those days, right? So let's start it again, and we're gonna hit go at the same time. Ready, and boom. So there we go. So this is going to give me a much better indicator of like what the time is actually going to be. So we're going to, let's just see. So it says it's going to take about 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to put my phone down because my arm's going to get really tired. And let's just wait for that to be finished and see exactly what happens. Okay, so the first regular encoding pass finished at about 2 minutes and 48 seconds and was averaging around 88, 90 frames per second. And now our second encode pass, which is pass 3, as far as Handbrake is concerned, is running much lower at about 40 frames per second. And if I take a look here, you can just see, you know, it's pegged all 6 cores. I mean, this is an older CPU. It's a 5930K. I mean, it's a really good processor. I love it, and I don't feel the need to upgrade anytime soon. But it's still an older processor, and I took all my overclocking off. Yeah, if I take a look at this, the GPU, I mean, yeah, it's really not working at full bore here. It's not even really getting all that hot. The fan is going. The fan is going pretty hard, but it just doesn't seem like it's really, you know, using this a lot. And again, this isn't the most scientific way of measuring how the CPU is, or GPU, I mean, is actually being used. But at the same time, you know, it really is not using the memory systems or the clocks or anything to their fullest percentage. I mean, if you just look at the power draw right now or the fans, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's I would expect it to be working really hard. It'll be interesting to see what Adobe Media Encoder does. Maybe I'm just misreading this, but we'll see. So we probably got another 2 or 3 minutes here to go. Nope, it says 4. So we're gonna let it go, and we'll just see what happens in about 4 minutes. Probably more like 5. Alright, so almost finished. Says it's got about 15 seconds left. Let's see here, and I'm going to hit pause. Now, I'm not going to hit pause as soon as it hits 100%. I'm going to wait until it's done. There we go. There we go. 9 minutes, 3 seconds, 9600. So let's call it 904, okay? 904. So 904, that should do it, okay? So 9 minutes and 4 seconds. And let's go check our folder out here. Let's bring this in here. And where did it go? Oh, it went into the parent folder. Wait. Yes, it did. It went into the parent folder. That's kind of strange. I have some issues with the new version of Handbrake. So let's see here. We've got our Handbrake files, the one up top. We've saved roughly 50% in drive space, a little bit more actually. We're 2.1 gigs versus 0.9 gigs for this, 1080p, and everything looks good. Let's open it up here, and yes, of course. Okay, and you know, if I just pause it, it looks fine. Doesn't look like we've got any major errors. I'm not going to play through it, obviously. Ooh, exciting. But yeah, there we go. So now we're going to go do the exact same thing. We're going to set it up with Adobe Media Encoder. Now, I've never done this before. Not exactly the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Handbrake file, and I'm going to throw it over here on my other monitor. I'm just gonna keep it over here for now, and then we're gonna set up Media Encoder here, and I'm gonna make sure that I've got all my video and audio settings to be at least as close to the same as I can possibly get them with Media Encoder. And again, I've never really done this before, so I honestly just don't know how equivocal they're going to be as far as the settings are concerned. But as long as I can get them close enough, because what I'm really trying to do here is I'm just trying to make this kind of more of a real world um, comparison. Like, can I get the same visual results with a program that maybe is a little bit faster? And what I'm thinking is that Media Encoder is going to use my GPU a little bit more efficiently or a little harder. I could be totally wrong, you know. I really don't know. We'll just have to see how this all goes. But so let's go here. I've got the so I'm going back from the source 2.1 gigabyte file and crash. The file format is not supported. Dang it. So essentially what I've just learned is that I need Handbrake anyway. Or some sort of a third-party application that I can't do an MKV. So let's do this. So to finish this test out, we're going to restart it. But we'll use one of my DSLR files. I've got some nice 1080p files from my Canon DSLR, and we'll use one of those to actually answer the question which one is favorable. But I just learned one thing right here, and that is Media Encoder will not utilize MKVs. So I can't use make MKV to rip a disk and then take those files and load them straight into Media Encoder. I have to go through another conversion process, which kind of negates the whole purpose of the test, right? So as far as taking care of my my movies, I guess it's Handbrake, which is okay because it's free. Could be worse. Could have been the other way around. Could have been Handbrake not being able to do MKVs and Media Encoder being able to, and then you end up spending money. So okay, so there we go. And I wonder why. I wonder why they don't. Why don't they allow MKVs? I would expect Media Encoder to be able to do more different kinds of formats, but I guess it's just not a format that's used in professional applications. So that all being said, let's I'm gonna take a pause here, and I'm gonna find a video clip that I think will be that'll be suitable for us to do another test on. We'll just do something a little shorter so I don't have to wait quite as long. So yeah, just give me a second here. So well, that sucked. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I found a clip from several years ago, and it's kind of a cool clip. I chose it on purpose, I guess. Just really quickly, you can kind of see it's an elephant. I was in Uganda, and it's awesome. So yeah, so we've got this. So now we're going to take this file here, and I'm going to re-encode it in Handbrake. And we'll try and keep the settings. Let's push it down to 10. Let's just make it work a little harder here. Open source. Drop that in there. And this should actually go really fast. I'm going to put it right up on the desktop because that's where I put the other file in here. And we'll Handbrake. Okay, so this is our Handbrake test. I'm not going to bother with everything else. At this point in time, I just don't even care. I just want to get it done, right? So let's get it done. So get my phone out here. Reset my stopwatch. And I can't click the mouse when I'm using my other hand here. So, everything should be audio. So now the audio is in 2-channel. So we'll just use AAC going to we'll go back to 512, but it's going to be stereo, so that should be a little faster. And go. This is going to be considerably faster. Still going to take a little bit of time. Again, looking at the, my graphics card and stuff like that, not seeing it work really all that hard. Frames per second is roughly about the same. Actually, it's a little slower than the movie encoding was, just by a few frames. That was averaging about 38, 40. I've seen this dip down to 30, and here we go, and stop. Okay. 58 seconds. 58 seconds and 38. So 58 seconds and 38 hundredths. Okay, so now we're going to take that. Let's move this over here. Let's relaunch Media Encoder. And let's do this test properly. I have encoded Media Encoder files or Canon DSLR files with Media Encoder before when I ingest them for editing, so I do know that it will work. So I'm going to take my video clip and put it in there. See, nice and simple. So now we're going to go here and I'm going to create a custom setting here. So H.264 is good. Let's give it, so put it on the desktop, and then I'm going to say Media Encoder. And now the interesting thing is, so maybe we'll do two. Maybe we'll do two with maximum depth and maximum render qualities turned on, and then maybe we'll do it without. We'll see exactly how much that really affects. So we can see our profile levels at 4.1. That's the reason why I set Handbrake to that, is because that's the standard for the settings for 1080p in Media Encoder, it seems. We're going to do a variable bitrate 2-pass. And our target bitrate is going to be 10, which is what we put it. We'll even allow it to stay up to 12, whatever. And then our audio is AAC. Quality is high. It doesn't really allow me to do a bitrate. Oh, there it is. Yay! So we'll do 512. So now the audio is also set to be exactly the same. And so let's, yeah, that should be good. It's telling me 65 megabytes in size. It'll be interesting to see which ones are bigger too. So anyway, let's get the phone out here. Reset. And 2-pass. Did I do everything right? I think I did everything right. If I didn't do everything right, I'm sorry. I think it's good. Pretty sure. We'll find out. And go. Watching the GPU is kind of moving a little bit more here. Still not quite as much as I would have expected, honestly. You can see the CPU, the clocks are all pegged. I mean, I know that Media Encoder, Adobe Premiere, all of those, they use the CPU and the GPU together. If you really want fast encoding, you've got to do both. You've got to do, the same. We're getting there. So it says remaining 35 seconds. We're definitely going to be longer than Handbrake here. This is interesting. I wasn't quite expecting this. 1 minute and 22. So considerably longer for Adobe Media Encoder. Interesting. Considerably longer. Now we're going to reset everything. Going to go back in here. We'll rename it Media Encoder, and I'll say max quality. So we're going to max out the quality and see exactly how long it takes here. So go down here, render at maximum depth, and use maximum render quality. Click OK. And then we're going to get my phone. And here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Alright, we're running. Honestly, I don't see a ton of change in speed here. It's relatively minimal. We'll see what happens. The video is really shaky for those of you who are going to critique that. I was in a truck and it was moving and I didn't have a good support because there was a whole bunch of other people around me. Those are my excuses. I'm sticking to them. And it was a 300 millimeter lens without stabilizer. Actually, I might have had the stabilizer on that one. That might have been my 100. So yeah, I mean 100 millimeter lens with a stabilizer. I think that was my 24 to 105. So we're back on now we're on the second pass here. Didn't seem like it really changes the quality at all. Or, I mean, the speed at all. Maybe a tiny bit. Tiny bit. I mean, if you had 1,000 files to ingest or something like that, and you're doing a conversion rate on them, then I guess that would make, it does make a difference. And stop. 122. 122. Okay. So, that answers that. Handbrake is actually a faster encoder than Adobe Media Encoder. Now, I'm sure some people would say Adobe Media Encoder is professional, it has better quality, it's going to have less artifacting and yada yada yada. And you know what? I would totally believe that. I won't use Handbrake for anything other than, like, you know, ripping discs that my kids are going to destroy so they can watch them on a server and I don't have to buy the Blu-ray 3 times before they're done with it. But whenever I ingest all my, you know, anything that I really care about, I always use Adobe Media Encoder. So that being said, now let's take a look. I do want to see what the file sizes are going to look like here. So give me just a second to kind of collect these. Okay, so now they're all in one folder. Let's put those together here. So, interestingly enough, the Handbrake one is actually even smaller with the same bit rates and everything. Now, I bet I know why that is. When I was setting my encoder settings in Media Encoder, I said my target bit rate was 10 megabits per second, but my max was 12. What I probably should have done is put the target and the max at 10, and then I bet you these would all be roughly within the same, you know, with the same size. So really, for all intents purposes, we'll say no changes in size whatsoever between the between Handbrake and Adobe Media Encoder. And we'll also say that Handbrake is actually faster. Now, we could go in. There might be visual differences between the two. Let's take a look. So I'm going to open up Handbrake. This will be our last thing here. So I'll just go here. Get a still frame that's not moving. That's a horrible shot there. Truck started to move forward, and maybe right around here we can get a still frame. So that's about what that looks like. 34 seconds. That's the Handbrake version. Let's go to the original. It looks roughly about the same, really. Really can't see too much. I'd have to do like real serious comparisons between the two. Yeah, actually I think that sounds like a good idea. So I'll do that and throw those up on the screen in just a second, but let's just open up. We're going to use our max quality one, and yeah, it basically looks exactly the same. All pretty close to each other. So yeah, I don't see any market increase between the maximum quality and the, you know, of the Media Encoder and the Handbrake one. I think that that's an interesting test. So all that to say, I was incorrect. I figured Adobe Media Encoder would be considerably better than Handbrake. Actually, I shouldn't say considerably. I figured it would be moderately better than Handbrake, but it wasn't. It was actually, it's actually better. It's actually better than Media Encoder, at least for surface level, you know, unscientific, but kind of real world test. It certainly seems like Handbrake is the way to go if you're just ripping out stuff that you don't really care about. That all being said, if I'm doing my professional or anything of serious quality or anything that really matters, guess what? I'm going to use Handbrake. No, I'm not going to use Handbrake. I'm going to use Media Encoder just because that's what I should do. So anyway, fun little test. Thanks for sticking through it the whole time. And I'll be back in just a little bit with any comparisons of frames between the three. Okay, so here's one of the snapshots that I got. This is the first one, which was from the original DSLR movie file. And if I take that and we zoom in here another 50% or so and kind of scroll around, doesn't look, it looks pretty horrible actually. But this is the original. So really just kind of looking in this area with the ears and the texture on the skin and stuff like that. Let's see what the other one looks like. So let's go to the, can I go to the next one? This is the Handbrake one. It does look a little bit noisier. Let's go back. But not considerably. No, it's about the same. This is the still frame from the max quality Media Encoder. I don't see any difference. I really don't. So I'm pretty confident in saying that Handbrake is fantastic. Handbrake is faster than Media Encoder. Seems to do just as good of a job. Yeah, I'm very impressed. I've been using it for years, but I've never really put it to a test like this, and yeah, I'm pleased. I'm very pleased.